And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 95th episode of Game Theory Gang. I'm Matty ALLin with ChrispyMan of Hexfire.io. Welcome back, Brisology.
Thank you very
Briz,
much.
Briz,
Thank you for
Briz,
having me
Briz,
back.
Briz, Briz, Briz.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you know it's uh, it's not until all the prices come back up I start getting invited back to shows and
Oh,
parties
that's
and
not
hanging
true.
out with friends and
Oh my God.
just kidding.
Brisology is the comic relief of the show, but he also brings a lot of good alpha and current news. So we really appreciate him. I want to give a shout out to Tobiwan and his dad, who is in the hospital. Tobiwan's dad is, and so we're sending our prayers to him and his family. He couldn't make it tonight, and I sent the link out to Johnny, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to join or not. So we'll see on that one. And yeah, so a lot going on. I have a huge list of topics, and then Brisology hit me with some more news about the SEC responding to Richard Hart, or
Breaking
Richard Hart's
news.
legal argument, I should say.
Breaking news. We're going to war with the bug eaters.
The bug eaters.
So I think a lot of people in the community are going to have their own takes on it. I think a lot of people are following, of course, Richard's tweet because that contained the official source of the letter that his lawyers sent to the judge to ask for the complaint from the SEC to be dismissed based on 5 strong arguments, legal arguments to have the complaint dismissed. And apparently, just an hour ago, the SEC responded with their own letter. And yeah, so I mean, I'm just looking at it now, and it looks pretty weak sauce to me. You know, we don't give investment advice here, but of course we're following along with freedom of speech and trying to understand, basically basically what's going on legally. And yeah, I'm at first glance, I'm not seeing a strong case for even jurisdiction yet. So the SEC, they've lost 4 out of the 5 last cases that they've had, major high-profile crypto cases, because they can't seem to follow the law. And it turns out the law in the United States, it says you have to have jurisdiction in order to bring a legal case, and that's what's under question at this point. It's not even a question of the complaint. It's like the judge isn't allowed to look at the at the points of the case until they even establish that there's jurisdiction. And what is the jurisdiction based on? Are you guys familiar with this? What the SEC is claiming their jurisdiction is over Hex
Yeah,
and Richard Hart?
I think it's that Uniswap has an office in New York.
Yes.
And because
Yes.
someone traded a hex on Uniswap, therefore that trade happened in New York, and that gives them jurisdiction.
Well, I mean,
Wow.
look, for a business to operate, usually you have to pay people. So the Uniswap devs, they're not on Richard's payroll. They hate us so much that they violated their own principle of decentralization to gatekeep Hex off their quote unquote decentralized exchange. But they've, they invented a DEX, the DEX smart contract technology. Hayden Adams did. And then yeah, they became bug eaters and started gatekeeping stuff. So
Yeah, he's one of the bug
that
eaters.
that's the opposite of a business relationship is when you're getting gate capped. Okay, and that's pretty clear to me. And then the other thing that's pretty clear is when somebody sends cryptocurrency, that is not an investment because sending, it means you can never get it back. That's what a send is in crypto. When you send your credit card information to somebody, like, it can be disputed for up to a year. We know this, but crypto transactions are pretty final. It's like part of the definition of finality. Is like when you send, then you don't get to call the shots anymore, right? And so
That's
I think
right.
that's another basis for the SEC just getting this all backwards. How can somebody misappropriate funds if the funds were sent on the blockchain with no expectations? So
And I would like to see them prove that the funds that you know that were used to buy the things came directly from, say, like the adoption amplifier. I'd like to see them prove that on chain, because until
I
they can, it's just hearsay.
I don't think it'll get. I don't think the argument logically gets that far because they weren't investor funds to begin with.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
So
Well, I'll tell you, what one of my favorite, I think, bullish aspects to this whole case is right now for me is how fast the SEC actually responded to Richard Hart. Because when his lawyers filed those like 5 points of contention,
on
uh,
January 9th,
January 9th, they said they had up to 6 months to respond, which I think was July 8th. And I was like, oh, great. They're not going to respond till like July 8th. And then there was a thing about mid August. I'm like, it's going to take like a whole year for this to even get in front of a judge. But they responded quick.
man,
And I'm like,
they got dunked on so hard they had to say something.
yeah. So
Right.
I don't know. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, and so there's a community member on Twitter that goes by the name Nuclear Herbs, and apparently has some like legal background and provides commentary, with proper disclaimers and everything. But he's one of the people that I've been learning from when it comes to interpreting all this. And apparently, based on what he says is the legal procedure that has to be gone through, there's kind of an interesting situation that's emerging here, Brisology. And I think this is really good alpha. This idea that if Richard Hart's lawyers, if they are successful in getting the judge to hear the dismissal, and then the dismissal happens, then the SEC could update their complaint against Richard and Hex and Pulse X and Pulse Chain, which that's one of the things that's a question mark, is like, how can decentralized contracts be named in a legal case? They're not entities. They're not alter egos, right? It's code, and that so that seems very strange. But just in the procedural aspect, it seems like it would almost be better if the motion to dismiss did not pass, because then the judge gets to look at the arguments as is. The SEC doesn't get to update their complaint if the motion to dismiss fails. And so now, if the motion to dismiss succeeds, then the SEC could come back with a different complaint against Hex and Richard Hart, providing no clarity. However, so I think the market, it was due for a correction anyway, because we went up 200%, 350% in a week.
To add on to your point right there, I for a minute I was actually getting a little worried that the SEC would crumple, like a unfluffy slipper, I guess, whatever. But and then I figured, hey, if they crumpled and they just kind of like fell back away from and they dismissed the case, I was getting worried because I was like, oh, then there wouldn't be any clarity. So this actually makes me really bullish, because now Richard can fight it, win it, and have ultimate clarity.
Yeah. I mean, if the motion, just like I said before, if the motion to dismiss succeeds, then the SEC can amend their complaint or resubmit a new complaint. However, I think that the complaint that they have is pretty bad now. And so I would love for them to have to defend in court what they've got now. But I mean, if you're bearish on them even resubmitting, that's fine too, because what's the basis? What are they going to change? You know, what's their argument going to be, even if they get to make a second complaint? And that's what I'm saying is like, it's not like they can make up something that's not true that falls under the category of federal judges aren't letting them act outside of the law. 4 out of 5 crypto cases have been won by crypto and have been lost by the SEC because the SEC keeps going outside of the law. And the U.S. federal court system goes inside the law. And that's something I think we need to celebrate and we need to remind people of, is how kick-ass the U.S. federal court system is, that they're playing by the rules, they're following the law, and that's what that's what this country is based on, is checks and balances. It's a good system. Turns out it could help us here, just like it's helped crypto so many times before.
However, if they rule against my boy Richard, there's going to be no drywall around me that's safe.
Brisology is known to punch walls when people let him down. So that's why he trusts code more than people. Yeah. So, I mean, this is breaking news over the SEC's response. But I'm not seeing anything in that is explaining why they have jurisdiction in a way that doesn't use Uniswap developers living in northern New York as their criteria, which really doesn't seem to be a strong case. But hey, wouldn't it be a great thing if it was a strong enough case? Because then the court gets to hear the meat and potatoes instead of letting the SEC kind of try to grasp at straws and find something else to complain about. But this, this complaint would be great to see it stay in court.
All right, guys, but seriously, who's selling on this news? Come on, who's selling on this news? Because as soon as this news came out, let's say there's a noticeable downturn in the market.
I mean, even before this, Future Us and I were talking, and he was calling for a 40 to 60% correction based on just the
parabolic rise
that we've had. And so the question is, who are all the people who are not selling, and how great are we? Hey, it's Johnny Chaos. Hey, I sent you the link. Feel free to hop on.
Come on in, Johnny. The water's fine.
That's right. We got 131 people watching live, thousands on the replay. And do we have any more commentary about SEC before we stop giving them free advertising?
No, that's kind of the meat and potatoes of it, I think. Yeah. Is that they responded today. The response doesn't really seem all that great. I think we're going to get, it's not going to get dismissed, and we won't have no clarity. So Richard Hart's going to be able to fight it, and we're going to get ultimate clarity by the end of this. I'm bullish on how fast everything was responded to, and let's go, right?
I mean, if this was a movie, yeah, you would want them to have their day in court and get defeated. It's like, thanks for the terrible complaint and the chance to fight it. It's like, yeah, pretty cool. So, yeah,
regarding the court date, I don't think there is a court date yet. I think the lawyers for both sides have to meet up with the judge first and do a phone conference. Does anyone remember when that's supposed to be? Is that like in April or March?
well, the court has to like accept the petition to have a motion to dismiss, and then the motion is like scheduled for a conference call, I believe. Or maybe they have to have a conference call in order to set up the motion to dismiss, and then the motion to dismiss can succeed or fail, and then they would go on from there. So the schedule that was proposed by Richard's lawyers may or may not be accepted based on my guesses and public information's all I'm ever speaking to. So
do you guys think the SEC posted that letter because of all the green candles that's been coming out of the RH ecosystem? Do you think that's a possibility?
it's probably just because of the strong letter that they got. I mean, here we haven't talked about it on this show, but let's review who are Richard's lawyers. Okay, so Quinn Emanuel is one of 4 law firms that he's working with. He has 11 lawyers, by the way. Quinn Emanuel, they have a Twitter page, and do you know what it says on their bio? It says, the largest litigation firm in the world, 900 plus attorneys, litigation. Okay, and then they talk about some game theory here. They say litigation is a zero-sum game. There's a winner and a loser. We know how to win. This is the firm that represented Elon Musk when he won against the SEC for billions of dollars, and well, the corrupt SEC, I should say. And yeah, I mean, so Quinn Emanuel being on your side, that's not only a heavy hitter, that is the heaviest hitter. They were voted the most feared litigation law firm 2 out of the past 5 years, I believe. Or maybe it was 4 out of 5. Some crazy number.
Yeah, I love that they have lawyers on the team that, worked at the SEC. It's like, how do you lose with that guy on your team?
Well, and as we've just discussed for people who are just joining, I mean, the true alpha here is that a lot of Hexicans would want to see this motion to dismiss fail so that we can get clarity forever on the issue of Richard Hart and Pulse Chain and Hex. So, yeah, I was wondering how this was going to play out. So I would imagine we might hear or see like another letter from Richard's lawyers, or maybe it'll just go to the, we'll be waiting on the judge to respond to the 2 sides and to decide like when there will be a hearing for, or a conference call for the motion. So nice. Things are playing out, aren't they?
So where's all
Crispy,
my
any points on all that, or can you hear us?
I can hear you talking to me specifically.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm trying not to breathe into the mic. I'm not sure why it's picking that up now. Who knows? I don't know. I'm using this mic every day, so like I'll use it as I'm the Borg. I don't know. I don't have much comment other than I would rather see that the case go forward and there's be some sort of resolution rather than dismissed.
Right on. Well, that's the path it seems to be headed. So fun stuff. Now, to transition to a related topic, or just kind of mention this briefly, the IRS was up our butts about this this new rule that they said you have to report $10,000 to them within like 2 weeks, or it's a felony whenever you're using crypto for business related transactions, which falls under a cash rule. Today they repealed that. They decided that they didn't want somebody spamming people with like shit coins that aren't really worth $10,000, but it looks like they are on the blockchain. Like, it was a horrible rule just because of like how crypto works. Like, you can't have people reporting on things basically just because they received something, because who knows if it is really worth $10,000 or if it's just like somebody.
Yeah, I got a pretty old wallet, and I got like hundreds of like airdrop spam coins in there.
Yeah. There's no way you could check all that and make sure none of them were worth $10,000 ever and like all this stuff. So they apparently they deleted that rule, thankfully, today.
I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. IRS. I don't have any real money to report.
I mean, yeah, like talking about taxes is unpopular, and we can't give legal or tax advice. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's an important thing for people to follow the law. You know, that's how we, make both sides happy here, is like, the SEC, they should follow the law. The IRS, they should follow the law. We should follow the law. Let's all just follow the law and have good laws. Did you guys see that RH made a tweet to the haters today?
Yep.
Crispy's muted.
I am muted, but I figured you could read my lips,
Okay.
So you can hear me. You can hear me through the mic. Yeah, I did see that today.
He gave a shout out to the fiat guys.
That's right.
That's pretty cool that he's giving shout outs to projects that aren't his. So that's kind of a new wrinkle in time.
Yeah, I messaged Buck to like congratulate him that the PH ecosystem got a shout out there.
Congratulations, Buck.
And
yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, because Richard's always said he would welcome a shorting platform, right?
Oh yeah, he's been wishing for it forever, so the haters can go short Hex and Pulse Chain and PulseX. Beautiful. So yeah, so Richard tweeted about that today, and it shows that he can support people who build on Pulse Chain, which is good for everyone.
I like that he said, and if you don't have the balls to short, maybe it's a signal you should buy.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That's actually a pretty good quote. If you don't got the balls to short the thing you're hating, maybe that's a signal you should buy.
Yeah. And that, I mean, man, him tweeting that kind of stuff really gets me excited, because
brings back the old days, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So that's cool. And of course he says like that trading and leverage can get you wrecked. So he warned people not to do that unless you're a hater and you want to get wrecked. Good stuff.
Where's all my inked up boys and girls at? Huh? Anybody have any ink?
I became an inkaholic now. So I
haven't heard that one yet. That's funny.
So the Bitcoiners, they talk about, all the boomers need to get off zero with Bitcoin. So I used that own psychology on myself to get off zero with ink right before it did its nice little run. Hey, Fiat's in the chat. What's up? Richard's advice to short was well timed. Yeah, that's true too. Wow. And I got to tell you guys, see, I called the ink bottom to the penny, okay? But I forgot, okay? And that came back to bite me. So I was experimenting with using Time Pays Me to do what I called a price lock, which is like a behavior lock. So I locked up $100 of dye, and I said if the price of ink goes down to 50 cents, then the dye can be unlocked because I can go to my friend who I gave the 6-digit code to and be like, hey, I did the behavior. I waited until ink got down to 50 cents. Give me the code to unlock my money, and now I'll go buy ink. And I forgot. I like went back and looked at the chart, and it went down to 48 cents, and then now it's up at $1 or $2 or something. So
Yeah, hit over $2 this evening before the SEC news. Let me check the.
now maybe we could go around the room, and people could say why ink is cool, why you like it, why you hate it, what's different about it. Because I'm new to the ink cult, and I want to pay my dues. So
I've thought about it a little bit, and one of the things is they say in the contract that it's supposed to have every year, so the issuance gets cut in half every year. So we're almost at the a couple
every
more
year,
months. That's what they say.
Bitcoin does that every 4 years. Wow.
And I remember Richard a long time ago on one of his streams, he was like, why does Bitcoin have like once every 4 years? Like, why doesn't it just have a little bit every single day or every week or every month or every year? Like, that is a design intention, I guess. um,
Thanks for
thank
the
you.
super chat.
Thank you, Fiat. So, and so one of the things like next year, only 50% of the coins that are produced this year are going to be produced next year. And like within like the first like 5 years, there's going to be less than like 50 million ink coins produced in total within the first 5 years. And I just feel like that's a very small number of coins. So I think it has the potential to grow very high because of the limited number of coins. And then on top of that, it's an RH OG coin. And I don't think he's gonna just let this forever dump coin be a forever dump coin. Because the other thing too is that after the issuance drops like 50%, that means all the people that are farming it, they're going to be getting 50% less coins. So their APRs are going to go down, and either the APRs are going to go down and then people will leave and remove their liquidity and take their money somewhere else, or the price of the ink coin has to go up to keep the APRs high. And I'm taking the long bet that I think the APRs will go up. And then again, with just this bump right now, I'm not sure what the APRs are at this very second, but the APRs went from like 40% to like in the 90%, just with this little increase in price. So
We
I
need to
think,
fact check the issuance schedule because I know that there were multiple ones proposed, and somebody in the chat saying that the issuance is not cut in half. But
yeah,
anyway,
that's,
like that's only one reason to be interested in it out of several, is like the meme of scarcity and stuff. Like what matters is really buying and selling. So
yeah, I looked at the Master Chef contract over on Pancake Swap and how their uh, incentive coin, kind of works, but it was kind of a long time ago, and I'm not really good at reading contracts like at all. So I don't know. I don't really remember. But
We're gonna
that's,
get some AIs to like work on that around the clock and figure it
you
out.
know,
But
I remember. I think I threw a little bit of that contract in the Chat GPT, trying to figure it out, but I don't really quite remember all the details.
well, Crispy, why are you bullish or bearish on INC
Sure.
token?
So yeah, I do farm ink. I have not been able to confirm the issuance changes. There's no way that I've been able to confirm that so far. But honestly, I haven't been trying real hard, in the last few months to try to figure it out or to find somebody who knows. I was unable to determine it through the code myself. So I don't know that it changes. But even so, it is a slow creation of ink. And I think by just from having experienced it, we know that the ink rewards have dropped, right? Because I can see them. They've dropped down a little bit. And certainly dollar value creates that situation as well. And clearly the pairs that get you the most rewards in ink are the ink pairs. And the ink pairs are ink pulse X. So that being the case, ink travels pretty closely with pulse.
Yes.
Now, during this recent run up, if you go look at it in terms of pulse, you see that people were buying it. So somebody thought that it was important to buy, and so they bought it up beyond just the increase in value of that pulse brought across through the LP pair. So there's definitely some give and take there with people coming and going. But when I boil it all the way down, what I was interested in doing is taking my pulse chain assets and earning a passive income, as passive as you want to call it, passive. And by accumulating ink and putting it into the farm, that supports that effort pretty strongly.
Yeah.
And so like my dream effort, my dream setup would be $10,000 a month in ink.
Yeah.
Would be my thinking. And so that's where I've landed with it. I just think it is harder and harder for people to generate ink other than having ink. And so if that is the game that you want to play, you have to buy it on the market. In fact, it's easier to buy it on the market than generate it. And what do you do with it when you have it? Put it into LP, and then you farm it. So I think all of those dynamics come together to make it, a reasonably stable, kind of a of income to come out of the pulse chain. So that's where I'm at with it.
I'll tell you guys where I'm at with ink. My understanding, and I'm just like a pleb who doesn't have enough pulse and pulse X to like farm at any scale or anything. And I don't know that I would want to either, because I like my numbers how they are. We've seen the ratios changed lately between pulse and pulse X, and we'll get to that next. But the reason I like ink now is because I think it's a cool meme coin. I think that that it's an RH token that wasn't mentioned by the SEC. They didn't mention ink. They probably don't even know about it. Okay, so it's an RH coin. It's like the forgotten child that is going to like become the superstar, and it's like the Stephen Colbert of the Pulse Chain family. And I didn't like ink at first because it started at like $75 a token, and then it started from zero, so it was hyperinflationary at first. And my understanding of the supply dynamic, which again could be wrong, and we need to have an expert come on at some point and explain it to us, is like there's a certain amount of ink that's created based on time. And after a certain amount of time, maybe that cuts down, maybe it doesn't. But the fact of the matter is that like the amount that's the inflation is disinflationary. So that, for example, ink has been created out of thin air now not out of thin air, based on people's liquidity providing, which has real value to the system. It's been created now for 9 months, right? Isn't Pulse Chain 9 months old? And so the supply started at 0 and now there's 9 months of supply. And so my thinking is in another 9 months from now, there will be double the supply of ink or less than that if it's on a decreasing schedule. But if it's on the same schedule, it'll still only double the supply in double the time. And so, after it's been around for 2 years, the amount of time it takes for ink to double the supply is another 2 years after that. And so I didn't really want to buy it over Pulse and Pulse X or Hex at first, but now I've done like a tiny allocation, which still gets you a pretty good league spot if you want to be, if you're into that sort of thing. And that is one of the tips and tricks that I wanted to recommend to people, is to look at your leagues on gopulse.com/portfolio, because that definitely got me motivated to balance out my portfolio the way that I wanted it to be. And that's been a really good thing to do lately. So, it's another way. It's like measure your portfolio, not in the amount of dollars that it's tradable for, but in the, like the ratio of the total supply that you have. So the league system. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to try to get Steph on to do some sort of interview, because he invented the league system. It's used all over crypto. I think that can bring more people into our ecosystem. That's like one of the themes that I'm working on lately, is like, how do we let the world know how much fun and how great this community is, to where we can get them to join us. But I know that Steph is going to first get the web app going for Staker app people before he does any interviews. But that's the goal there, is to really use his invention as a way to help not only new people, but people who have been around a while, like myself. I leveled up my character recently because I saw that Richard Hart, I saw what his cards were, legally speaking, and I like those cards. I still like them today after seeing the SEC's cards updated. I still like Richard Hart's cards, and I think a lot of other people do too. I think that's why so many people voted with their money to push up the price of everything, is because they like the Mac. Well, we'll talk more about like why the price is going up so much. But any other points about ink while we're on the
Yeah,
topic?
if I could just add a couple small points. One of the things was, even if the issuance doesn't get cut in half, it just makes the supply of production very easy to predict, and that's pretty important. So inflation isn't necessarily bad, especially when you can really predict the supply. And then and if the issuance does get cut in half 3 to 5 years from now, acquiring the ink via mining is going to be a lot more difficult to get. So I'm making the personal bet of acquiring a chunk of the of the coins,
Yeah.
to have before everyone else gets them. Then the last thing I wrote down was that RH is heavily capitalized, and I just don't sleep on RH coins.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's
I
like
mean,
that's the biggest takeaway. It's just don't sleep on the RH coins.
awake
All right.
always. What if the OA starts trying to acquire ink through buying or yield farming? Either way, it would become 20. It could become up to 20 times more rare or more difficult to get than it is today. So
And I believe the OA has acquired a bunch of ink already, and I think they did it through the Bitcoin farms because there was a lot of Bitcoin that was sent through and used to farm ink, and I don't know anybody who would send that much Bitcoin over and start using it to farm ink other than maybe someone who mined Bitcoin with 50 coin blocks per
Yeah.
block.
Great point. We have 223 people watching live, thousands on the replay. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And welcome to Game Theory Gang.
Welcome
Got
to
a
the
lot of
Ink
alpha
Theory
on this
Gang.
stream. The list is not running dry yet of all the alpha we have to share tonight. Crispy, did you have a point here about Staker since I brought it up?
Yeah, I see the comments in the chat, and I think people should know that we're not ignoring the potential issues with Staker. In fact, I pretty much wasn't aware that there was a serious problem until recently because there hasn't been a lot of discussion. And so I'd like to really get behind Steph's effort to create, and I don't know the details, but I'll explain to you what I do know, but to create this new web app that will allow people to stake and unstake through the web app, or maybe it'll just be unstaking, I don't know. It through some of the Twitter discussion that's been out there with Nerd Girl and some others, I just peripherally became aware, because nobody's come out and said this is a problem, that some people, maybe all people who had staked on the Ethereum side with Staker app cannot unstake on the Pulse chain side. So I'm not trying to create a,
Yeah.
urgency or panic, but I recognize there's some problem going on somewhere that's trying to be addressed, and people should know we're not ignoring it. I just don't know anything
Correct.
about it.
Yeah, the good news, the alpha there is that I asked Steph for an hour of his time, and he said no because he's working so hard on getting the web app running. Kareem addressed it in the conference, and we talked about it on Game Theory Gang a little bit whenever ChrispyMan was on vacation. But basically, yeah, for all the people watching now, the update is that Steph is seems very focused on it as he should be, and they thought it would already be out by now, but it's not. So good thing that they're dealing with it now. If you know somebody who has a stake that was made through Staker app and it's on Pulse chain and it needs to be ended, you can go good account it for them so it stops bleeding out, and that can be done. We actually, we had a community member, John Wick, actually volunteer to do it for people like who needed help, but unfortunately, we don't know all the addresses of the Staker app users, and so we don't really have a way to. But the website that you go to in order to good account a stake, which stops it from bleeding out on Pulse chain, if you know the staking address, that is it's backuphex.com. I almost forgot it. Sorry, Crispy, what were you saying?
To do that. You could also use the Communis app, by the way, to do the good accounting.
Sweet.
And, well, you can do the good accounting there, but if you wait, I think 38 days, you actually get Communis as well.
You can also use Etherscan.
And you can go to Etherscan and do it directly yourself there.
Oh, so
on the Ethereum side.
You know what? You just invented a way for me to tell John Wick to do it, because he can just go into Communist and look up all the ones that are bleeding out and go from there. Because
we have the
app,
list. We know which ones are bleeding. We just don't know which ones are attached to Staker app. Now, I did a little bit of work on that this week, but I didn't definitively determine how to go after it. So if somebody listening knows exactly how you can tell whether or not a stake is a Staker app stake, please contact me. Let me know, as I can pull it up. I was able to get like pre-August 21 miners listed because it's a certain way that the contract interacts with it. I was able to pull the input data, but I was unable to get after that. So if somebody has that info. But yeah, there's a
Cool.
couple different ways you can actually do it, but certainly more would be better in terms of help.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds great. And it's great that the community is willing to help each other out in this way whenever something bad has
Oh,
happened with one of the protocols.
yeah. So here's a topic for you. This kind of segues off the good accounting. If we're done with the staker app portion,
Sure. Let's do
I
it.
think you got that already. You may have noticed some pretty hefty penalties in the last week or so. Um, so this is something I talked to you about on the background, Maddie, but I didn't really put out like in a public stream. Back in November, we had the potential of driving the share rate up to 32,000 in advance, and now we're just approaching that. Within the next week or two, we'll be at 32,000. But there were several miners that could have ended to bring us to 32 that did not end. One batch of them look like they're part of a wallet that hasn't transacted for a while. Another one looks like it was attached to the OA daughter addresses or the OA address itself. And so, of course, we didn't see any action. So those were not ended. They weren't ended. And so we didn't see a share rate change back in November. All right. Well, what's the consequence of not ending a miner? Well, after 14 days, it starts to be penalized. So this 1.9 billion, roughly to maybe 2 billion worth of hex, started accruing penalties. All right. And right about day 38 or so, I don't know if all of them got done after day 38. Somebody on Pulse Chain went through and good accounted them. All right. So that's positive.
John
Overall,
Wick,
maybe.
is that you?
I don't know if it was him, but whoever it was, if they used the Communis app, they got 1% of all the Communists that those miners would have gotten. That's a little added
Jackpot.
bonus. Yeah, it was a jackpot, a couple $1,000s worth. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't go do the numbers. I think it's probably between $5,000 and $6,000 worth of Communists for having run the good accounting on those.
Cool.
But in any case, somebody did that, and so now those miners are good accounted. We got the penalties; they were distributed, and now the T shares are out of the pool. Payouts have gone up a little bit on Pulse, and the half the penalties, of course, went to the OA, and payouts went up a little bit for that too.
What do you make of all this?
What do I make of it? DeFi, baby. I mean, the immutable code, lots of things you could do. If you're paying attention, you can go find, some advantages. Be rewarded for what you do and what you're looking for. Help
Go get
keep
some
the
free
system
money.
efficient. Free money.
Well, I wish I would have remembered and known to that detail, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me who got the bonus money there.
Here I am talking about it. That wasn't me either. I didn't do it either. So but it's pretty cool that somebody did it. But that's a way to keep the system clean. Of course, I have a little bit of a soft spot for the bleeding out expired miners because it represents fruit ripening on the vine or meat on the bone. Because at some point in the future, there are literally thousands of miners that have not been good accounted yet on both chains. At some point in the future, with a higher hex price, it will make sense for people to go get yield by ending those or by good accounting them.
Makes sense to me. Yeah. DeFi, baby. That's right.
So,
Some people are just now hearing the SEC news. We discussed that at the beginning, and this entire stream is going to be worth listening to because we're dropping so much alpha. I think we gave tons of alpha on the SEC issue earlier.
I have a little bit of hidden alpha that's been hidden in the open. If you guys want to hear it,
I always want to hear
Sure.
alpha Brisology.
all right, and you know what, this can be loosely tied back to ink, very loosely. But basically, Maddie, when you did an interview with the highest of stakes directors, you asked them a pretty, yep, you asked them a pretty interesting question,
Did
and
I?
their response to me, that was just like, oh, it was beautiful. It was such a beautiful response, and it gave you a real inner working to how Richard Hart is approaching everything. So if I can, I would like to share about a 60-second video.
Please. I'm playing along right now because I already saw your post on Twitter and thought it was a brilliant catch on your part. So, yeah, I think the crowd will be very interested in this.
I don't know if this is the
Do
right
it.
button. There we go. Let me make this bigger. So
Let's see if we can get the audio to come through and if you can make the screen a little bit wider.
And now you mentioned Richard disappearing into
hear
the
it?
night.
working.
Didn't happen. What do you guys make of him not streaming these days?
What do you make of him not streaming these days?
I would say that we can't answer that question without breaching confidentiality. You know what I mean? Like we're in regular contact with Richard about the movie. He is, definitely been amazing at everything that is needed for his part in being a leading character in a movie. So it's not really our place to speculate on that, and it does pull on conversations that we've had that are off the record and are related to, the making of a movie. So I love what Grant said. What do you make of it, Maddie?
Well, I think he's been very active on Twitter, and so people can follow him at Richard Hart Win on Twitter. So I mean, I could see it as something strategic, or it could be that. It could be that he just sees.
Or there's an or for Richard Hart.
Really? I was like,
I think the question is, what is the strategy? Not is it strategic? No.
Okay. Well,
yeah. Create the top 5 unstrategic things Richard has ever done in his life, and then let's talk.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything on that list.
Okay. All right.
But I will say we just got a video.
So that was basically it. And the parts where he goes, not is there a strategy? The question is, what is the strategy?
These are people who are excellent people at reading character, at understanding the psychology of people. They did a deep dive into Richard's entire life. They spent time with him. They made a movie, a documentary that was really captured a lot of the essence of what it's like to be in crypto and who Richard Hart is and who the Hex community is. And so, yeah, I think you finding that alpha, I think it highlights what Hexicans have known through all of the ups and downs that we've had in Pulse Chain since May. And since the last time we saw Richard go live, which was at the Hex Conference 2023 in January. So he hasn't gone live in 12 months. However, he's obviously been there fighting for our rights, as he put in his tweet, and being super productive and everything. So we haven't been abandoned by any means. However, there may have been a strategy here. Now, Brisology, you're alluding to something. What are you saying the strategy was?
I don't know the exact strategy, but I can't remember. I think Richard once mentioned something about redemption arcs, and that everyone loves a redemption arc. And I always point out one of the greatest redemption arcs of our generation and media has always been Jamie Lannister from Game of Thrones. In the very first
This is
episode.
a family-friendly show.
Yes.
Was that really was that really redemption? I don't know, man.
Also, no spoilers. No spoilers.
Yeah, I guess.
Game of Thrones has been out 10 years.
What you're getting at
but
is that
in the
Richard
beginning is Jamie
gonna set the new
Lannister. He
standard.
starts off as like a really despicable guy, and then at the end of his redemption arc, the crowd is really cheering for him. And I kind of feel like Richard kind of had that same idea with his outrage marketing, where he's just like, I want you to hate me. I want you to hate me. And then eventually something happens. He kind of goes away for a while, resets, comes back as a humbled man. He's been humbled, and everyone starts cheering for him because he's seen his evil ways, and now he has changed for the better. And the green candles really help. So
I don't know, Bruce.
So I think there's a redemption arc coming, and I'm all for it.
Crispy?
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if I'd exactly equate Richard to him.
No, yeah, I know, I'm not.
but yeah, I could see, I could see some sort of a redemption arc, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's all the story. It's all the narrative. Certainly, I don't think anything's been done without forethought. I do things without thinking about them. I'm like 99% Richard does not do that.
Yeah.
I think what we saw was people heard about the 10,000x. Some of us experienced it, some of us didn't, but a lot more people heard about it than experienced it. And then some subset of those people that heard about it, they got into Pulse Chain and Pulse X, which took a lot of faith. It, the deal was you're sacrificing for freedom of speech, freedom of movement, and that's the end of the deal. And then, maybe somebody in the future airdrops something of value, maybe they don't. And lots of different teams airdropped lots of things of value to people who sacrificed for Pulse Chain and Pulse X. And but whenever it was time for, whenever people woke up one day and there was Pulse and Pulse X in their wallets that wasn't on testnet anymore, it was worth 3.5x for Pulse, and it was worth 1.5x on Pulse X. So, people who wanted to sell at that point, if that was enough for them, they sold. And some people who sacrificed really big got a huge multiplier on top of that. So some people got a 10x. And then we had to go through the longest, worst bear market in crypto history. After,
It was brutal.
So it's like in the past year, Hex had gone down to 1.7 cents when Bitcoin was at 15K and ETH was at $900. And then right before Pulse Chain came out, Hex was at 12 cents. What? You didn't want to sell at 12 cents? What? But then there was a lot of complaining to do and a lot of people to shake out whenever people were selling down at a penny subsequently, right? So what we've seen is that with less certainty, there was a longer period where people could sell, whether they were selling for more than they bought it for or less. Hex did a 6x in the past year from bottom to top, and then went down a lot, went down 90%. That was an opportunity that a lot of people took advantage of and some people didn't. But now that we see that there's more certainty in the market, now now a lot more people are wanting to come and play, and so it's fascinating to consider. Yeah, what the effects are, what the community of believers and non-believers have kind of done to themselves is kind of what I'm pointing at. Is like there's a group of, it kind of polarized us into believers and non-believers. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I also take a page out of Johnny Chaos's book.
Okay.
You know, and get super hyped up about this and emphatic that, hey, listen, guys, you don't own the prices. Even if a day goes by and there's a high price, you don't own that. That's not your price, right? And what I mean by that is, I think that I have suffered from this. I'm sure others have as well. You see these prices over a month or two when things are going up. I'm beginning to feel the FOMO, right? You don't own those prices. All right. Dips are in the game. And when we say dips are in the game, okay, ignore it or whatever, but that means 50% down next week is certainly possible. Is that what I want? No. Am I predicting that? No. I'm just understanding that, I might be cooking along here for a little bit and all of a sudden, meh, we end up with a 50% dip. You know what? That's in the game.
Oh
And
yeah.
so understand you have to it's a long process, man. It's practice. It's practice to make perfect, to get to the point where you can watch your portfolio do these 25% dips, 40% dips, and not take action just because it happened. Now, maybe you got a plan and it's good for you that there was a dip and you're going to do something different. And you're going to, whatever it is you're going to do when you've planned it out, but have a plan, as to what you're doing. Otherwise, your best plan is probably sit on your hands.
Yes.
Yeah, we just took like a 20% dip those like last couple hours.
Yeah, I know, man. I looked at it. I was like, God damn, some of these, sorry, God. But see some of these people that were here on the stream, their portfolio, if they're watching on GoPulse or something, just dropped $500,000. You got to have big boy pants and big girl panties to be able to deal with this stuff, right? You can't just be like, I'm out every time you see one of those things, because invariably things come back, or they don't. I mean, things can change, of course, but it's an up and down market. And you can't just chase this stuff every time it happens. You got to have like more of a little bit more thought. But I get it. You know what I did the first time it happened? I got out. I saw the bottom.
Mm.
Right. So I'm sure other people can probably explain things like that as well. But anyways, that's my little Johnny like rant.
I agree
Johnny,
with you. Yes.
I'm just hoping Johnny thinks it's up to par.
I strongly agree with that sentiment that like when I was less experienced in crypto, it would have bothered me. And at this point, it doesn't, because we have so many positive things to focus on. Because really, I mean, for me, I'm all in already. And like all I care about now is like my ratios of RH tokens, and I'm pretty happy with them. And so my bags are packed. That we are obviously not going to go straight up. Nothing goes straight up. It goes up and down and up and down.
That's bullshit, Maddie. It's all going up tomorrow, right? We're all gonna be rich. We're all gonna make it tomorrow, right? That's the downside, right? That's what people think in their heads, right?
If the OA is buying and you sell, the OA gets to buy more coins.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any expectations of that happening, but it works the same with the God Whale, who's now active on Twitter again ever since the conference. So
yeah, I saw that.
Look, how cool is that? How cool is it that all the other Ethereum Genesis whales, they are getting a chance to like take note and to observe.
Dude, there's, yes. I mean, you make so many things pop in my head that are going on right now.
Go for it.
That are out there, just like observationally as you're talking about this. So first off, everybody remember, it doesn't take much to make this system pop. Look what happened. Look what happened just over the last couple of days, right? I don't know how much was actually transacted, but would we have like 10 million or something come across the bridge? And all of that didn't get swapped into things. People front ran that, right? So how much money moved the market? I don't know. but it's not. It wasn't $1 billion worth, that's for sure, and it wasn't $500 million
Correct.
worth. It wasn't even. It
Correct.
wasn't even $20 million worth. So there's a lot of money out there on the sidelines. It can make a huge difference, and so we have to watch for it to happen, and see it pop. At the same time as that's going on, you got people like Gary, Fighting Jim Gary, making pitches to outsiders to come in, like the Cardone twins, right?
Yes.
And that thing, and like I'm supplying a little bit of information to help support that. I hope he's very successful, but a few of these people decide to drop a few $1,000,000. It can make a significant splash in the market, and then
Uh,
rounding it back around. So how does it benefit us knowing that the market's has volatility, longer time frames, delayed gratification, willing to make it through these times as people come in, enter and exit the market, and the market grows.
I'm looking at the charts right now. It looks like the buyers are starting to fight back against the
Oh,
dumpers.
Yeah.
they probably heard how unintuitively positive it is for the SEC to not for Rich if Richard's team loses the motion to dismiss, then the SEC doesn't get to amend their complaint. And so that is, like we've been talking about earlier on the program, that's the hyper bullish thing about this whole situation is you don't get long-term clarity if the motion to dismiss succeeds. It has to make it to the judge the facts of the case in order to get clarity on this. And if that happens, the SEC doesn't get to update their crummy complaint that they already have. So super bullish on that respect. Actually, Funding Jim and I were in a Twitter Spaces earlier today. I ended up spending a couple hours with Mine Your Biz, who some of you will know is a longtime friend of Nerd Girl and the community. He had a Spaces with 700 or 800 people who are mostly Bitcoiners, and welcomed me up to the stage right away and was like, Maddie, like, come speak about freedom and politics and crypto. So I basically said a lot of the stuff I said here about how Richard's fighting for our rights and Uniswap isn't, that sort of stuff. And it seemed to go over really well. And so I think that there are going to be a lot of opportunities this cycle for us to make new friends and rekindle old friendships as well.
So, speaking of getting new friends, should we talk about Mr. Cardone a little bit?
Let's do it.
So, I was reading this morning. I saw a tweet from Gary Cardone, and he seemed pretty upset with the centralization of the Bitcoin. And I think someone mentioned Pulse Chain to him, and he said that he was ready to pump $1 million into it. And then we got news. Well, someone created a Gary Cardone .eth ENS, I guess.
No.
They started bridging money into
and put
it.
$2 million across the bridge. So
Yeah.
whether it's a joke or not is pretty incredible. And it was the fact that members of the community are out there spreading the word. That's what is making this possible.
That is pretty cool, though. Huh?
On top of, I actually listened to the Twitter Spaces where that happened after that with the Cardone brothers, because you're right, Brisology. Somebody was like, telling the Cardones about it, and then they were joking about putting $1 million in. But then Gary went on and pitched to them, and they loved his pitch. And he was like saying that he would do a $250,000 bet, like to match whatever they put in and that sort of thing. And now I guess he's in talks with them to actually guide them through the process. And so whether the Gary Cardone.eth thing is real or not. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, either way, it's pretty incredible that people are memeing and attracting new people.
I had a little thought, it's just a speculative thought that I think is kind of funny. Is that what if Gary got in earlier today, and then just as the SEC news happens, he's like, "I'm out."
Oh
And
no.
that's why we got the big red candle. I thought
I'm
that'd
just
be
looking on Shane to see if somebody like sent it to that address or if
That's
it
just
was
conjecture.
created from that address. But it might take me a second to look into the chain, so maybe
We
I should
have,
save it for the next episode.
crypto Bindu in the chat.
Oh,
and he's
actually, here,
saying,
breaking news. So,
breaking news. Beep, beep,
this
beep, beep, beep.
this address, GaryCardone.eth, was registered 387 days ago.
369 days ago.
387
go.
days ago is when it came to this address. So that's
369 days.
pretty wild. Yeah, so cool. Yay, we're onboarding people. Look, it's working.
They're
Our
talking
plan to
about
have
it.
a decentralized community. We didn't need Richard to get the Cardone brothers in. Funding Jim and the community did it.
Mhm.
True
that. It is pretty cool because you start looking at it, and I know I get hung up on this stuff sometimes too, just like other people. Where, like I said to you, I don't own the prices. This because that's my experience, right? This is where I look at the numbers. I'm like, that's my balance. You can't take it away from me. Then it goes down. Like I don't have any choice. Just like I can't really make it go up. Well, it depends on the circumstance, but I'm not directly influencing values like that, right? But I also lose track, and this is another point. You have all these people coming out and doing these TA analysis on the chain and on the coins and the tokens and everything. Guys, I'm not sure we have enough empirical evidence to know. I mean, you can look at what's happened and come up with the TA, and that's fine, and maybe it hits most of the time. But you have no way of interpreting whether or not a Gary Cardone comes along. Briz 2 shows up with his bag of BTC. You don't know when these
Somebody's
people are going
been
to come.
buying, like
Yeah, so you can blow these models out of the water, and it just invalidates, the very pessimistic stuff, anyways.
totally. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely on their radar now. Apparently, people are saying that the Cardones are like live on Twitter now, and they said it wasn't them. But anyway, like I don't know. I lost all my Bitcoin in a boating accident, right? Like,
I'm
just
sorry,
because
man. I
somebody
didn't hear that.
says, and that's the point that you were making, Crispy, is like it doesn't matter what people say. The blockchain is pseudo anonymous, and like so even if they're publicly saying that they didn't buy, maybe they did, and they're just not wanting to put their brand behind it yet. They want to see what it does.
I technically don't own any coins at all.
Technically, you don't.
Yeah.
And technically, none of us do.
The blockchain owns them.
Except for these Belizean coins I have.
I just know a set of words.
That's right.
They give me access to something.
And do you really even own those? I'm not sure.
I mean, you can't own words.
Can I patent my seed phrase?
Yeah.
Yeah, please publish it. I like to see that. In triplicate.
I am the first owner of crypto. It's gone.
You should never share your seed words with anyone, even if they say they're from support. Don't do it.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, please, thank you for saying that. I people keep contacting me all the time trying to scam me, like all week long. Every time I post something, get something else. Oh, you need help? Here, just validate. No, I'm not validating anything with you.
I got
I don't even
a text from Ledger last week saying that I need to update something or I might lose all my funds.
Yeah.
I was
Those
with my
aren't
buddy.
real
I'm like,
either.
someone's trying to scam me right now.
Well, and you know that you need to look a little closer when they say, well, first thing we need to do is go down to Walmart and get a money order. If you got to get a money order or a gift card to get work done, man, that's the wrong thing. My heart goes out to you people who do that. I'm sorry, but yeah, don't get gift cards and give them out over the phone. Yeah.
So speaking of other crypto friends, have you guys seen the videos from our little buddy Nagabo?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know his situation. If he truly is having a hard time, I'm sorry about that. But I pretty much got that he was pulling everybody's leg on this stuff. And then I had heard secondhand that he had mentioned that it was a social experiment. So
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the very first video. Didn't look very convincing to me. And then, just like you heard secondhand, it's a big social experiment. Got you. But I don't know.
He got me. I was really worried about him. But I was really glad to hear that he didn't actually go into smoking crack and being homeless and
or
blaming
getting
it all
heroin
on Paul Shane and Richard.
I don't think it
but
was very cool that he put up a donation address, though.
He said he was going to send all the money back. But anyway, to like celebrate the fact that I actually think Nagabo's funny, even though like that particular topic isn't funny to me because like I used to work with people who really are homeless and use addicted to substances. I just really think like now I can say that, right? And still also believe that like our community has lots of people of value that don't all agree. And so that's something I really have been trying to celebrate. And so I did a little, so this is not all me. This is a real picture of Sami wearing a Pikachu hat. And then this is a Pokemon card that Abit made featuring Hex. And then Abit won I was giving away one T-shirt. This was back when a T-shirt wasn't worth anything. For somebody to make a meme of me. So Abit made this is me as a Ninja Turtle.
It almost looked like a
Ski
recreation
Cat.
of Ski Cat, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And so
I never saw Ski Cat. I didn't know
it.
you guys looked alike.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well it's we both have Hex shooting out from our skis. And normally it's a cat there instead of a person, but yeah, that was Ski Cat. So that's the Matty Allen Pokemon card. And then
consistency 100.
Oh yeah. Big time. And passion for Hex for sure. Don't go to those links. Those are old links there. And then here a wild SJ. I don't remember. Maybe I asked Abit to make it, or maybe she did, or I don't know. Abit made this one too, so it's really cool.
I want a Pokemon card of me and my
right?
stats. Abit, could someone clip this and get it to Abit, please?
So then I decided to make my own for Nagabo, and
nice.
But under the I don't know what you would call these, like the specialties. I just put an advertisement. Hex is trustless yield. Oh, this is holographic, by the way, for people who are just listening. That took.
Oh, it's just not a really bad photo.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah, this is. You
I
have
see
to be
the
into
holographic.
collecting
I was
cards
going to
to,
say, Matty.
understand. No, that's holographic there. It's high tech. And then PulseX is all about buy and burn decks. And then Pulse Chain is an ETH fork with low fees. So in like 4 words, I just described each of the use cases there. And then family friendly show, so I can't read what the weaknesses are and the resistance, but the retreat cost is social experiment. And then I also put down here a message for how people can get into hex, because I think that's another important part of our messaging these days is like it can be so confusing. I went on Adam Stokes's show, which everybody should go check out that interview because it was really good. But I heard there were like 5 people a few hours later who had already bought into Hex and Pulse Chain who are from Australia just because they heard that interview. And so I think Adam does a really good job of like bridging people in from other communities like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And but anyway, one of the questions he asked me was like how to keep it simple. Like what do people do? And it's like in MetaMask, you can swap ETH for Hex at cow.fi. Right? So like without like overwhelming somebody with information, it's like, yeah, there you go. Like that's how you get into Hex in like less than 10 words. So
I like it.
I like it too. And being an old timer who was around when the first Pokemon cards came out, save those things, man. So I like get me some real cards. I want them proof, and don't let anybody touch them. I'm putting them away, man. I'll save my 369 cards.
Pokemon, the red and blue cartridges, they came out like right as I was coming out of middle school, going into high school. So I had a lot of good memories with that game.
I can't tell you how many I threw away.
Looks like we're pumping, boys.
Pumping.
I'm seeing the prices going up.
Here's another observation. This is just a gotcha for me. Well, anyway, Big Alpha. If you don't do this already, guys, if you were looking at acquiring and you're looking at trading, go look at the pulse price for your token that you're looking at or whatever asset. Go look at the pulse price, and that'll tell you whether it is pumping or whether pulse is pumping. If pulse is pumping and that token's flat or going down, that means it's probably maybe an opportunity, right? You decide. No financial advice, right? But it might be an opportunity because it is not pumping. So yeah, be careful with that because a lot of people will get in the FOMO because everything looks like it's hitting all-time highs, and every chat saying the same thing. Oh my, look, we're hitting all-time high. You know what? It's not all-time high in terms of pulse, and that's what truly matters in my opinion. That's one thing. The other thing is kind of related to that. Just looking at different positions, I'm like, damn, that's expensive. And then I go, look, it's not any more expensive in terms of pulse. So I'm beginning to feel that cognitive dissonance of how high these prices are getting. Like I already have pulse in my token. I already have the pulse token in my wallet, right? So I don't need to go get more pulse. But I'm looking at some of the decisions I'd make. I wouldn't put that much in. Right? I mean, because I'm in already, right? I mean, it's a lot of money. $5, $10, $20,000 is a lot of money to be bringing in, and a lot of people are doing that right now. But I'm already in, and so I'm looking at it. I'm like, damn, those prices went up pretty quick. And so, people, I think there's a lot to this green candle thing, and people coming in. If you've been ignoring it all this time, and you didn't think when prices were, 3 times lower than they are today that you wanted to be in, well, guess what? Now you're paying 3 times more to come in, and that's bullish for the rest of us. And so for those of us already in the ecosystem, congratulations, right? We see another 2-3x from here. I mean, at some point you set floors, right? At some point you set floors, and the new money that's going to come in is going to set the floor above us. So,
ChrispyMan, is this what a magic carpet ride feels like?
I think so, Bruce. I think so, man. I think so.
And new people, they're going to come in 6 months, never having been in crypto at all. And they're going to see Hex at, whatever it's at. Say, let's just say 5 cents. And that's just the price of Hex to them. So, and all the other coins. So you know, there's a
Well,
lot
it's-
of biases.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, when's the last time we were at 5% of a penny? Hex doesn't go that low anymore. It only goes down to a third of a penny, as far as I can tell.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. I think you know, I know we have a pretty strong crowd, real smart people that watch this show,
yes,
and they get it. So they may remember, or they'll at least understand. You know, Richard was really clear with us on a lot of stuff. You know, he taught us a lot of things. Some of it we knew already. He just kind of codified it. You know, as we went along. That the people who do the best, right? What does he say? Holders and founders, right? So those are the people that did the best, because we're looking at the past, what happened with crypto and assets. So you know that holding's good, and the next best thing to that is staking. You know, add to that the idea of, you know, in terms of hex, because we're hex centric, right? In terms of hex,
yes.
stake, mine. What's the best length of miner? Long as you can go. As long as you can go, get the most out of it, right? What's the next best thing out of that is a ladder, you know. But all of that requires, you know, a certain amount of understanding and the ability to delay gratification. But damn, don't you, you know, a lot of people don't get it, that are the haters. You know, they don't understand that we have such a strong base of people that there aren't, you know, I have the millionaire list. They're not on the millionaire list, a bunch of them, right? They would never be on the millionaire list unless we go up to, you know, dollars, right? And which is very possible, but they're not there now. They came into it with the idea of, hey, let's capture these lows in the beginning, stake and chill, and go forward. And man, they're loving what's happening right now. They got their
Oh yeah.
EHEX, they're in profit. They got their free PHEX, it's doubled, you know, double that. They probably got some exposure to Pulse and PulseX. Man, I mean, I don't know how you set up a community any better than this, you know, for success.
And not everybody can see it, and that's a good thing, because that means that there's more room for opportunity for people to be impressed, and for people who have heard about Hex and Pulse Chain. You know, they may have heard about it during the outrage marketing phase, when I would argue you didn't want people buying Hex and driving the price up to $5, because then it would have been way more painful for all of us who already went through enough pain watching the price go down. Wait, you want to watch the price go down 99.999%? 99% wasn't good enough for you,
You
right?
can always drop another 50%.
So, yeah, I think that the outrage marketing, in my opinion, looking back, served a purpose to raise awareness while limiting not only the price of Hex, which is a good thing, but also limiting the oversubscription to the Pulse Chain and PulseX sacrifice. Because if you had $10 billion going to there, we'd still be, you know, hugging the floor with the prices today, probably. So
I don't know if I don't know if I can get behind that it was done with that thought in mind, but that certainly seems to be the outcome.
yeah,
Right. Right. Like I think Richard was being Richard. And I, you know, and I don't mean that negatively at all. You know, he fought in the trenches for a long time. You know, for us, for the community, for the project. So yeah, yeah. But I think the outcome that you're describing is, you know, does fit what you're saying.
yeah. So it either way, it's kind of interesting to look back on the game theory and to try to make sense of what happened, because some things repeat. It's like a joke that this time is different in finance, because a lot of times history rhymes so much that that even the narrative saying that this time is different is a joke, because
Mhm.
it isn't, because things repeat so much. Yeah, so
Well, you know, we always, you know, somebody coined the phrase. I don't know who actually came up with the whole hex as an IQ test type of thing
ooh,
when it came out. I don't. You know who it was that did that? I don't know who did it, but it is so true in a lot of ways. And you know, I'm in the community. A lot of people here obviously are aware of a lot of people out there, know a lot of people. And damn, if there aren't 50% of them that are just like, they just don't see things the way I see it. That's for sure.
I just want to say I
I
am on the far left side of that bell curve, and I'm just
Oh,
here for the
you're selling?
memes.
You're selling? Is that what you mean? You're out?
No. I'm saying I'm
Peanut brain
the
or-
dummy that just
Okay.
buys because I like the colors on the logo,
Yes.
That part
Yes,
of the
and
colors.
I'm outperforming all the midwits who are not buying because they're like, I don't know about this.
Maddie, did you coin the phrase of
Somebody
hex being an IQ test?
somebody said, I mean, it seems like something a crypto psychologist would say. Certainly.
Yeah. Well, whoever did it was brilliant. So there you go. But I think I think that there's a lot of people in their communities that maybe not listening because they won't even listen to you maybe now. But they're just like, it's the end of the world as we know it. Hex is over. It's never coming back. Dead count bounce. Dead cat bounce, and pulse chain's never going anywhere. Doom and gloom, and it's like I don't get it. I don't know how their mind could be twisted in that direction, right? When at the same time they're telling me about some new shitcoin, right? That would have all the say worse externalities than Hex. Brand new, somebody you don't know, not immune. I mean, it's like, but that one makes sense. And so some people are just tied up in this whole. I didn't get rich in a few months, and I bought the top, and the
There are
prices are down.
people who got rich in Hex and then fumbled the bag.
Oh, I bet.
Unfortunately, not everybody time locked. So
That's true, and that's a subject I'd like to get into. All right, I have to drop off for a minute, Matt. I'll be back. My boy, my dog is here bugging me for his shot. He
Sure.
actually knows that he needs a diabetes shot, so I got to give him a shot. I'll be right back.
good for
It's a very responsible dog.
I know he's pretty smart. Well, yeah, I think it's.
Asking for a shot.
I think it is because I give him a treat after I give him the shot.
Oh, nice.
So his mom says, "Hey, it's time for your shot." And then he comes in and he's jumping up on me here to do it. So I'll be back.
Dogs are the most popular pet in the world. It's why dog coins perform so well on the blockchain from time to time.
Why not cat coins? Come on, guys.
We still I still have a lot on my list here of alpha to share with people, insights that have never been shared before, information that hopefully is of great value to people. I know I would want to, well, I do. I spend a lot of my time listening to what people in the community have to say. We're blessed with so many YouTubers. I guess now would be a good time for me because ChrispyMan already knows. But we have like 260 people watching live, thousands on the replay. Hit the like and subscribe button. If you're looking for SEC commentary, that gold was at the beginning of the episode. But let's talk for a second about how successful the Hex conference was, because that happened in the past week. And
how awesome was that?
Oh, dude, what an honor it was for me to have such an amazing community and to be able to put together the 4th year where we had 4 nights. This time we had 102 speakers, new all-time high. And then the finale that we did was a new segment called The World Record for most YouTubers live, and we crushed it. Now, I have like hours of footage to go through before I can submit to the Guinness Book of World Records, but I can already tell you we got the record. I just don't want to put the wrong number out there. It was we had over 200 people on one screen, and so this is going to be something probably in like 10 to 12 weeks from now. We will have like the title in our hands, and if not, I'm going to feed it into AI so that it's not just a centralized entity that knows we broke the record, because Guinness Book like charges every time you bring it up. They like want money to their centralized agency. But
I have a question, Maddie. Can you use the AI to make me speak Klingon?
No,
I want
not
to
yet.
speak Klingon.
That's the encore to the 5th Hex conference coming next year.
I want to really reach out to the furthest spaces.
I actually do know the company somewhat, and we could request that. I mean, that seems like it would be a really popular feature. The Hex conference this year was the first crypto conference to utilize AI, and that's another thing that's going to be a lot of work on the back end for me to process and pick some of the best clips to share into other languages and figure out the best way to get the information out there. But I think, judging by the price and the whales and the OA and all the actions on chain and the community getting along so well, it was really the event of a lifetime, like, to really see it all come together. And so I want to thank everybody who spoke there, everybody who watched and supported the event, because it seemed to be a dream come true in terms of showing off how our community is better than any other crypto community out there. Somebody's asking if we're going to do another world record event next year. I can't imagine that we wouldn't try to beat our all-time record. And the real question is the next world record attempt for most YouTubers live on a single screen, are we going to have to wait a whole year until the Hex conference, January 6th through 9th of 2025? Or will we do another attempt during the Pulse conference online, which I do every year on July 14th through 16th? So we might not have to wait a whole year before we get to do that again. And really, the people who participated were in these these rooms, and I posted an example to YouTube of just like how amazing it was for the community to just be socializing with each other online. And I think it's a good clue that the more meetups and stuff that are going to be happening here this year, from Discourse Syndicate and PulseChainTour.com, and I'll probably do some meetups. That'll be better than ever, just like everything that keeps happening. We did have a comment much earlier from DeFi Dad or Unplugged Dad, from somebody who is a regular on the channel, in the comments, who said that they did a meetup recently and it went super well. So that's definitely something to look forward to. I know it's always a blast to get together with all of you.
I was thinking I should throw another meetup.
Yeah. Brisology held the first Hex meetup of all time.
You did. I remember that.
Well, I didn't hold it. We just met up.
Yes.
We just showed up to a point.
The Pulse Chain Tour is going to Vegas in March.
Yes. 369.
And while I would say, hey, spending a lot of money in Vegas on gambling is counterproductive, it is a very cheap place to go see people.
Yes. I'm going to strongly promote that event, even though I won't have anything to do with it, because I trust the people involved. So, and then I'll get to go to something and not have to organize it and just get to enjoy it.
Yeah, you need to do that sometimes.
Sometimes that's like the best way. Just let someone else do the hard work and just show up.
The chat keeps mentioning it, so I want to hear what you guys thought. If you saw the game show that I did when I saved a spot for Richard in the conference to speak, and then he wasn't able to make it because he was fighting for our rights. I had to fill the time, and so I was nervously filling time with Sticker Guy doing a game show for Pulse X, Not saying that's the reason PulseX pumps harder than anything else, but not saying
I
it
did
hurt
see
it
it.
either.
I thought it was a wonderful segment, and I think you should do it more often.
It was really hard, and I was very nervous.
I think with more like if you prepare it ahead of time, I
Okay.
think maybe you could really pull it off in a very well done way.
I'll have to go watch. I haven't seen that.
It was like a Who Wants to Be a Crypto Millionaire?
Oh,
Yes.
all right.
Multiple choice.
Yes.
My coconut satellite wasn't working where it was. I couldn't get through. Yeah, those could be fun.
Guys.
You know, we could do a Jeopardy too. You know, something like that.
I mean, look, doesn't the Cabana Crypto show? They used to have a trivia. I always enjoyed watching that.
I don't know if I don't know how I'd want to manage it if I did want to manage it, but there's some nice nice software that lays into here that you can use, where people could actually vote online, and you can bring it in through like for instance Microsoft products and be like, oh yeah, look, this is the audience says, you know, so Bruce could be like trying to answer a question. I need to ask the audience, or I need a lifeline, you know.
Yeah, we did that awkwardly.
But for some reason, Sticker Guy never called me. What's up, Sticker Guy? He didn't call me.
That sounds like a sticky situation. Yeah.
It was. Cool. So yeah, so we covered that and everything. Now, I caught something on Twitter today. Let me see if I can go back and find it. This
I
was
hope it's not serious. Nothing serious.
Alex McWhirter replied to somebody, and he put a winky face, is what my note says.
Wow, man,
Okay.
that says a lot to me.
Hold up. Well, hold on. All right. Wait until you see this, okay?
I'm wicked. I'm giving you the winky face.
Because I was pretty excited to see this. This is bullish for Hex. So somebody was saying, obviously, like there's a fee problem on Ethereum. That's why Pulse Chain was created. And, you know, so maybe there was some people a little confused in our chat today, and here. New people are always welcome. And somebody said, yeah, it's not possible to make an eHex stake on Pulse. And people have been speculating that Alex was working on something to do it. And he said, not a traditional stake anyway. Winky face.
Wink.
So he confirmed the winky face. And so what that actually got me thinking of is, with some smaller wallets, because there's little liquidity, but I was actually able to buy a little bit of eDeci on Pulse Chain, which is an example.
You know, that's not Potter Hedron. And
yeah. Yes.
Okay.
But it's a tokenized T-share that is available today in extremely low quantities, which got me thinking, if a whale was using Pool Party, which is also not Alex's creation, but that there are multiple solutions possible for something I never thought could be possible with getting some yield from eHex on Pulse Chain. So maybe Alex is planning some sort of HSI bridge.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to say too much about what I think might happen because I don't have any of the facts, and I haven't talked to Alex, right? So we only have an official note that he's put out that goes back many months now, you know, describing, and somebody in the chat's talking about it now, describing what something might look like in the future. And that something is, you know, might be the ability to stake eHex, stake Hex, stake eHedron, stake Hedron on any chain, right? So you could bridge it and stake it, and somehow earn some sort of reward, denominated in what, I don't know. whether that's denominated in a new token, an existing token, etc. But these are the types of things that he's been working on, and that's where the staking of the EHEX came into play. Like, it sure would be nice if there was somewhere else, something else you could do with EHEX, right? Besides staking
Yeah.
just on the on the chain. But of course, I say that, and I think, wait a minute, what am I talking about? Of course, that's the use for it. So I don't know. Let's wait and see. I think we're gonna have to wait and see what he comes out with for final information. But on the other half of what you're talking about, again, a little bit offbeat from the normal native hex staking. That DESI's still at a discount, guys. I don't know what you're doing. I'm buying as much of it as I can.
Oh,
Not
dude.
financial advice.
So good.
I mean, and with this latest updraft, I was like, wow, those numbers look so small, but yeah. Anyways, I guess I don't want to talk too much about buying stuff.
I mean, there's a beautiful risk and reward in DESI because we don't know that it's going to go to a premium or a par with the net asset value that's backing it. However, like it's such a discount. I mean, it's like yesterday I was swapping some of my hex. I found some liquid hex. I'm like, what is this doing here? What am I going to do with it? Obviously, I'm going to convert it into DESI, whether it's on Ethereum or Pulse Chain. I can get more DESI than hex. So I put in a 10,000 hex and I get 11,000, 12,000, 13,000 DESI. What? Each DESI is worth like 1.3 or 1.4 hex right now.
Yep.
So like the risk is I have to hold it for 8 more years, 9 more years, something.
Right.
But like, it's at such a discount. It's like, wow. It's such a no-brainer to me. Because
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Perpetuals.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I have no idea what Alex is cooking up, but I'm a huge fan of Alex McWhirter. I think he's one of the great devs of the Pulse chain. I think he deserves a lot of respect.
You smell what he's cooking, Briz. You smell it. I smell it.
I can't smell it, but you know what? I'm looking from afar and I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, I agree. He's like super smart. Like sometimes I think I'm smart, but then I run into people like him and I'm like, man, like run circles around you. But he's got some stuff going on for sure. And I'm looking forward to what he puts together because I'm looking for it to enhance the system, And I had a request from somebody in the ecosystem yesterday, to come up with Mayer multiples for the Perpetuals. And you guys may remember the Mayer multiple for Bitcoin is a
Trace Mayer,
a very important indicator showing when the best times to buy are, when the best times to leverage out are, or DC out are. Well, in any case, right, our entire ecosystem was threatening to pierce. We were in this area where it was like DCA, baby, keep going. But now we have moved distinctly into the, hey, you might think about slowing down a little bit as we approach the highs over the next, maybe 6 to 12 months. Who knows what will exactly happen? Maybe we'll go up first and come back down again. But tying into the Perpetuals, Perpetuals also pierced that envelope now. They're looking very bullish. We only have time on our side. Just have to wait it out.
Yeah. Zazoe in the chat is asking what is DESI. Maybe he hadn't heard of it.
Oh yeah, I see somebody answering too.
Fiat. Get out of here, Fiat. You Fiat boys. I ain't giving you private keys. But to who is it? Zazo? A DESI.
Oh yeah. No. DESI Arnaz,
snake.
not DESI Arnaz, but DECI, right? Decimus Maximus.
Yeah, you don't want what's inside of my wallet. It only has ink in there. Worthless ink. But Deci is just a 10-year long stake. It's it's staked for 10 years and it's a tradable stake. And in 10 years, you can redeem it for the 1-to-1 hex that you put in, plus all of the accrued hex that that stake accrued. And I forget, but they're also giving Icosa away, right?
Not Icosa. But they
Hedron?
have there's some tie-in with Hedron, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually I
Okay.
don't know. We'd have to get with Dipcatcher and Gold Key to figure that out. I don't have the answer to that. I do know that I'm hearing that, again, second party, that they're still working on Pool Party. And that
Nice.
may be coming in the future. I don't know what that means for us yet. But that might be fun because I maybe I'd do a branded Hexfire, ladder or something.
I would buy that. If it's
It would be
max
fun
length.
it would be fun to do, right? And because a lot of what we have going on here is about community. Yes, of course, it's about money and investment, and for some it's about technology. But I tend to think it has a lot more to do with the community. I don't know. Yeah.
I was just thinking to myself, like, what other alpha did I share in Twitter Spaces today? Because I was speaking in front of these 800 Bitcoiners, and somebody had brought up the topic of Ponzi, and I thought I had a really good response to it. Right. So, first of all, there's a documentary about Charles Ponzi on YouTube. It's great. You should check it out. Second of all, real crypto can't be a Ponzi because it's transparent. It's on the blockchain. So if you're not informed, that's one thing. If you don't do your own research and you don't know what the protocol does, that's one thing. Like if money is just being recycled in a way that's like super shady, that's one thing. But in order to qualify as a Ponzi scheme, you have to have fraud. You have to lie to investors about how it works. Like Charles Ponzi, he was
For example,
stamps.
for a real quick example, you have to say you have a trading bot when you really don't.
And that's exactly what Charles Ponzi said, is that he had, it wasn't a bot, but it was a stamp arbitrage between countries, which did exist. Like, but when they later uncovered it, he'd only done $5 of trades. And what Charles Ponzi exposed was the human psychology that if he told people that they could double their money in 3 months, basically, I forget the exact APY he was giving people, but he was dealing in person. Basically, people would give him a bunch of money and then they would come back a little bit later and he would pay them out more than they put in. And then they would get back in line and give him even more money. So they would reinvest everything plus some because he was like paying them out. So there's this like thing in human psychology that can be taken advantage of by Ponzi schemes. However, crypto solves this because it is transparent. And so crypto isn't going to lie to you about arbitraging something. It's like people who lie to you, and you shouldn't trust people. You should go on the chain and look for yourself. That's what true
Verify.
crypto is having something that's transparent. And the legacy system isn't transparent. And the way Bitcoin trades now isn't transparent. It happens on centralized exchanges and behind closed doors. And so the fact that we have something that's truly transparent and the volume happens on chain and we can download the front end, it's like a really good deal. And it doesn't even make sense to call it a Ponzi, because if you understand what a Ponzi is, you understand that something that's fully transparent can't lie to you.
Yeah,
Does
this
that make
gets me.
sense?
Yeah, it does. It does, because there are of course there are things where people, protocols, contracts, and people trying to actually steal from you. That would be
Sure.
in that kind of quote unquote Ponzi area. This is where I channel my
Well, that'd
inner
be
will.
fraud.
What's that?
That'd be fraud or theft,
Yeah,
but
fraud.
it's not a
Fraud, theft.
Ponzi unless you're making a promise that's false.
Which I guess, I don't know, maybe that's not fraud as well. But regardless, there are things that people do that are questionable, sure. But when you look at the accepted or acceptable cryptos that are out there, I start channeling my inner whales only,
Ooh,
and I start
do
looking
it.
at the cryptos. It's like none of it freaking matters anyways, right? In that, what I mean is, if one's a Ponzi, like they're saying in the chat, they're all Ponzis. I mean, if the only reason my Hex price stays up is because people buy it. The only reason my Ethereum price stays up is people buy it. The only reason my Bitcoin price stays up, I have very much of that, like 20 cents worth now. But the only reason that 20 cents is worth 20 cents is because other people are buying it. The same thing with my Tesla stock and my Berkshire Hathaway stock, right? The only reason they have value, people are buying it, and meanwhile the government's printing more of it. More money, all that they want.
Yeah.
So it's all a matter of which horse do you want to win and which one are you picking? And like you said a few moments ago, it really comes down more to trust. I suppose in the grand scheme of things, I trust the country with the biggest guns and the most guns to maintain their value of their fiat, right? And then beyond that, it's layers as we get in deeper and deeper into crypto.
Well, so a market is where people are buying and selling, and in order to fill all the sell orders, you need a buyer. And so that's every market. For me to sell my used car, I need a buyer. So a Ponzi isn't just you need a new buyer. It's you need a new buyer and you're lying about the underlying business. What's profitable and what's not. So I think that's where we kind of conflate this idea to where like the government, like if the government is lying, then everything's a Ponzi because there's lies and you need a new buyer. But this idea that, that something is a Ponzi, like we have to respect what the actual definition is of that. Greater Fool Games, not same thing as a Ponzi. America was started by greater fools. Respect. Yes.
That's right. Our fools are greater than your fools. Yeah.
And growth stocks. So yeah.
USA. USA.
But I mean, go watch the Charles Ponzi documentary because it's a good one. It's free on YouTube and it goes into like his life, like how he was trying to impress this girl and he was living in Boston and he actually opened up a company called the Securities and Exchange Company.
Oh, that took some kahunas, huh?
Well, they didn't exist yet. So they stole his initials when they created the Securities Act.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's a wild story. Like it's definitely worth the hour of your time or whatever it is. So, I mean, it's not as good as Highest of Stakes. Don't get me wrong. You should watch that first.
Is it better than Dumb Money? I don't know.
That was a pretty good.
Yes.
One.
Well, it depends what your goal is. Whether your goal is to be entertained or informed. Dumb Money was good too.
It was. I think one of our creatives ought to go grab that movie and dub in Hex into that. It would fit our story pretty well.
I might be able to do that.
That would be, oh yeah, AI, baby. 180 minutes of it.
That's right. Yeah.
That'd be pretty good. That would be pretty funny. Oh my God. I don't know if that would fit in parody. But.
I mean, we're basically living a version of that.
Mm-hmm.
We have all of our own characters that aren't selling and are sticking around and leading their cults in the right direction.
My 2 cents on the whole Ponzi scheme deal is that the Ponzi requires the new guys to send the old guys the money, but with the hex or with cryptos in general, Brisology, watch out! There's a huge bird behind you. Caw! It's like a turkey or something.
Cacao,
But with
cacao.
cryptos, it's not a Ponzi because what we
Oh.
do is we throw all of our money into a pool, and then it's just a game of musical chairs. First person to start yanking it out.
That's every market.
To me, I feel like cryptos are the greatest socialization of money ever. You only get what you put into it, and if you don't put anything into it, you don't get anything out of it. And it's everyone's money combined. It's like, hey, it's like a social consensus. I love it.
I've been stealing from Eric Voorhees on these other channels, like when I'm speaking outside of our community. I want to like hit him with some good stuff. So I talk about how once upon a time people discovered that they could separate church and state, and it's not because either one of those is particularly bad, but that you want them to be separate. And now, 15 years ago, people started the experiment of separating money and state. And so it's, that's an important distinction that got started with Bitcoin 15 years ago. Last week, Bitcoin got approved to trade on the stock market. If I'm speaking to a broader audience than like Bitcoin spot ETF, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, cool. So we have all of these crypto experiments playing out, and Hex and Pulse Chain just happen to be the best version in my mind of true crypto DeFi at this point, like the best part of the experiment so far. And that's because you have downloadable front ends, and you have the majority of the volume trading on chain, transparent, without middlemen. Period. The end. Buy Hex.
Buy Hex.
Use MetaMask.
NFA.
Use MetaMask to swap ETH to Hex on cow.fi. COW.fi is a website.
Cow.fi.
Boom.
Hey, can I comment on this ETF stuff?
Please.
So I definitely watched it with a jaundiced eye. I was waiting to see with a jaundiced eye. It was a sick eye. I don't know what that means actually, so I probably shouldn't use that. But I know what jaundice is. I know it means a yellowed eye, but
yeah, I'm like,
I was carefully watching because by the rumors.
I like your word crafting though.
I know. I've been watching a lot of Corey Costa. Because I break out the thesaurus and my dictionary thesaurus. I can't even say that. And my dictionary to look stuff up because I don't understand some of the words. But anyways, I love you, Corey. What I was getting at is, I was waiting to see what would happen with that. And as we came up over the last couple of months, I follow this golden rule methodology, the golden ratio, and we came up to some key levels, and bounced a couple of times off that. And there was a potential in my mind, anyways, we would see like a huge Bitcoin drop. And you've heard people talking about these 40%, 50% drops. And Bitcoin did back off a little bit, but it didn't go down very much. Yeah. And it's recovered a little bit, and it looks like it's traveling on its 4-year cycle path. So I don't know that we're gonna see something different this time. I know we always say it's different, but it wasn't different last time when we said it, or the time before. Maybe this time will be different, but we'll watch it and see. But the markets look like they're moving along pretty nice, and I would still say that I'll be looking conditionally on what's happening in the systems. Between summer and the next April to be really fine tuning my plans. And what does that mean? Being able to put myself in a position to bridge over another 2 years to the next cycle. And whatever that means to each person, what they have to do to take care of business so that they can survive the next bear, and whatever that'll look like.
You just reminded me of some more alpha that I saw today. Silver, the antidote, he's not like publicly followable, but I think a lot of people can still see his tweets. He said he's been following the macro very closely, and he believes that this is no accident that the OA has chosen now to start buying, because he sees a really positive setup in macro. And so for what it's worth, I mean, I really respect and admire Silver's analysis and his take on stuff. I have not been following the macro as closely, but hey, I know that the Fed plans to cut someday. I know that stocks have to go up 7% so that retirement accounts don't go bust. And so, I mean, the money printer, has historically been on more than it's been off, so on and so forth. And so, while you could always see a pullback or a meltdown or this and that fails, I think in general, I think we might have a nice runway here. And of course, the Bitcoin halving is going to fall within a few days, more or less, of this great American solar eclipse. So if you're into woo-woo shit, it's even better for you there too.
Wait, there's a solar eclipse coming?
A great American solar eclipse. Only 2 of these you get every 100 years. And this is the one that goes across the country and not just down. And so we had one, what was it, 7 years ago? We had one in 2017 when that bull market decided to pop off for Bitcoin. That's when I got into Bitcoin. And now we're going to get another one in April of 2024 when the halving is expected.
Nice.
Basically.
Did you
This has
ever
no-
see my Eclipse Alpha?
No.
Let me see if I can find it real quick because it's actually really interesting. ChrispyMan, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Matt if this alpha that he's talking about has anything to do with the, with aliens and the discovery of. You found it?
Yeah.
I don't
Save me,
follow
Bruce.
that topic.
You don't follow the
Although,
time.
I'm glad some people do, because we need all the people we can get into Hex and Pulse Chain. I mean, we don't need them, but they're welcome.
Well, one of these days we'll talk about the hollow moon and the concave Earth. Go ahead,
All right.
go ahead, Bruce.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is from September of 2023. And I said, I saw someone mention a blood moon, which means total lunar eclipse. And I started looking at the moon cycles and the prices of Bitcoin at the peak of 2021. New information has come to light. So get out before the lunar eclipse happens. Is that a marker for the elites? And so let me make this bigger.
But this is different than a solar eclipse. It's a lunar eclipse.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's the difference. I can't make it
like
any
when
bigger.
moon is different than when sun.
Oh, I'm feeling deflation right now.
But the whole idea is that you can it's hard. I can't make this any bigger, but you can see like right here was the eclipse, and then the markets tanked. And then here was another lunar eclipse, and the markets tanked.
I can tell you, because it's part of my story of how I got into crypto more than just $10, is I was selling. So Amazon, they sold a bunch of like defective solar eclipse glasses. Okay. And they sent me an email about it, and I got the email and I was like, oh shit. So I went into the store and just got I went to Walmart and got a bunch of solar eclipse glasses that were good. And then I went online and I was like, well, if I ordered mine online, and there's got to be a lot of other people too who need solar eclipse glasses. So I sold like $10,000 worth of solar eclipse glasses in like 10 days. And, that was a lot of money to me, working at a mental health clinic, getting paid not a lot of money to work a lot of hours. And then right after that, so this is right after the solar eclipse, that's when I started looking for other businesses to start, because I'm like, solar eclipse glasses, that's not going to come around again for another 7 or 8 years. And that's when I started selling Bitcoin miners and playing around with Bitcoin when it passed the price of gold at 2,500. So
So I see how it matches up with
it
the
was
solar
bullish.
eclipse.
It was very, very bullish for
Very
Bitcoin,
connected.
the solar eclipse.
Well, every time I watch one, I don't use glasses, but I thought the spots were a feature. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about. Don't anybody do that. You go blind.
Don't do that. He's joking.
If the moon is powerful enough to affect the tides of the ocean, what is it doing to us?
Well, see,
Yeah.
Brisology, he didn't get it over in California. He didn't get the Great American Solar Eclipse of 2017. But I believe you will. I believe the entire country longitudinally will get the eclipse this time. That's coming up for the Bitcoin halving. Perfect timing.
I don't
Can I
know.
mention a
I
little
don't know
bit
if
of,
we'll be having that.
I
Go ahead,
have a
Bruce.
little bit of game theory that was running through my mind just like
Go for it.
yesterday. And it's not fully fledged out, but I'm just kind of like thinking about it, especially that all these Bitcoin ETFs are happening. Because, we keep thinking that, we're in these 4-year cycles, and we are, and we have been, and we will be until we aren't, right? And so I don't know. I was just started thinking about these Bitcoin ETFs being launched, and I'm thinking about all the companies, like like Fortune 500 companies that have so much excess cash. If they were to try and buy in like all at once, they would just move the price against themselves
Oh yeah.
very, very hard. So I'm on the idea of that they're going to basically dollar cost average in. Now, now we're all thinking, the bull market is going to just blow off by 2025, and then we'll have another bear market starting in 2026. But what if these companies are just DCAing in to where it just has an extended ramp up. It just kind of just keeps going and going and going. And we don't have that major crash, Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Wouldn't that be something?
And so my whole reason I'm bringing this up is because I feel like there's going to be a lot of fellow investors, especially a lot of you guys that I care about. You're like, all right, I'm all out. I'm all out by December 2025, and you dump a huge part of
trading.
your bag, or maybe all of your
Wrecked.
bag, and then we
Wrecked.
just keep going up.
Wrecked.
Um,
That's part of what makes long-term people do so well, is the short-term people doing so bad, unfortunately.
It's a feature.
Yeah.
I
so
hate that. I hate that that's true, but that's how you get
Yeah.
money, how you transfers. Yeah. I like what you're saying, Bruce.
I would just say
I
maybe don't sell more than like 20 or 30% of your bag, like ever. Like just kind of keep that
Ever.
70% buffer just in case we have an extended super cycle.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
think in
Go ahead, sorry.
general, my thinking is hodl bag forever, and which is accomplished with a ladder. I mean, I'm not selling my 15-year miners. In fact, I have some intel on that to talk about in a moment. But the other thing
Perfect.
about the cycle, you might Briz, see that left translated, type of a little mini cycle here that's might be coming up at the end of the year. I don't know. We're not going to know until we see it. But with that in mind, for those people who are looking to DCA out in some sort of responsible manner, keep your eyes open, look at some of the indicators, and take a cue. When it makes sense to take profits, take profits. to be able to secure your future. Now, I've been there too, right? Like when we got up to 20 cents, I was like, hell no, I'm staying. We got to 40 cents. I said, hell no, I'm staying. And I got up to 50 cents. I said, hell no. And well, then we went back to 40. And he said, well, maybe I should. And then, because that's what happens, right? It's going down. You kind of lose that momentum. And so when I wanted to get out of anything, it was always at a lower price, right? And so I think that your point's well taken. But we may see some sort of a truncated type of a cycle, but then the super cycle of all cycles, right? Because if we truly are going to see, this is just one scenario, right? Give it a percentage chance of happening. But if we're truly going to see the money moving into crypto, where's it going? It's got to go in, right? And it's going to drive those assets up. And we're connected to that. So we could be in a very good position.
One of the things that Richard had said was that Hex would do a 10,000x in 2.5 years because Ethereum did. And, I heard that around the time Hex came out, I would say. And it's something that really stuck with me. I didn't believe it at first because Hex went down 80% after I bought into it on day 3, or 70%, whatever it was. So that sucked, and I didn't know to believe in it. But then everything played out as it did, and Hex went from 0.00005 all the way to 55 cents. And I remember people could get into Hex. Like I could have bought sub Satoshi when it was that cheap. Like that was a possibility. Richard was doing live streams, and it was a choice. So
I know we like to deny the past, right?
We do.
But you might have been old enough to have been able to buy Bitcoin at $30. I sure as hell could have. Just like I could have bought Apple at $4, right? And Tesla at 12. So these things do happen with assets, and I saw all the crap about Ethereum. I could have bought it at 50, 60 cents and gotten in, but I didn't do that. The same thing with XRP. Yep, I know people don't like XRP, but at a couple pennies, right? When did I get into all these things at much higher prices? Because that's kind of how things work. But I bring that up because just because people think it can't happen doesn't mean it can't happen, right? I mean, it definitely can happen. Now, when and what time frame, I don't know. But you stick with the Ethereum. After 4 years, how high was Ethereum? After 6 years, how was it?
It started at 30 cents. So Ethereum, yeah, that's a great example of something doing well. Now, let me tell you where I'm going with this. I believe Richard when he says he wants to make more millionaires than anybody else. And so I looked on chain at how many millionaires Ethereum has made. And I saw on etherscan.io that there's 10,000 people who have 500 ETH. And 500 ETH is about 1.2 million. So Richard's going to have to beat that. And so that's one way that I'm thinking about it, is that if he wants to break the world record for most millionaires, he's going to have to create at least 10,000. And I'm not sure the exact numbers. We could go back on the blockchain and look, but I would say Hex in its first cycle made at least 1,000 millionaires, something like that on paper. And now with Pulse Chain and PulseX,
I like that.
If you're in the top 10,000, and I would emphasize that you need to look at not just the top 10,000, but you need to look at the top 10,000 user controlled wallets, because I actually think that the OA split into like 10,000 wallets. And I don't think that Richard is going to count that as making millionaires in an OA address. And so,
well, I can tell you, I track around 3,500. So it would not surprise me if there were 10,000.
Okay. Yeah. I did the math on on it, and I was pretty convinced that the top 10,000 wallets are not the top 10,000 sacrificers. So yeah, that's important, and it's something that we could discover more of with chain analysis and everything. But the way that I'm thinking about it is that if you put yourself in one of the leagues, I mean it didn't take a whole lot probably in Ethereum to be in the top. Well, actually, I can do the math on that for you right now. If you bought at the beginning at the sacrifice price for Ethereum, it was 30 cents, and then you had to hold on until now. 500. That meant if you put $150 in, that meant that you became a millionaire from Ethereum's ICO. And so I think that Pulse Chain had a higher amount sacrificed in PulseX compared to Ethereum when it started. But still, the bottom line is this is a number that we can calculate, and we can try to understand what it might take even to just be in the minimum of what Richard is aiming for and what we know is possible in crypto that isn't possible in any other asset class, as far as I can tell.
Food for thought. Anything. I listen. Anything's possible. And I don't mean that like, oh, anything's possible. Things happen for a reason. I mean, like, seriously, this is possible stuff. We've seen stuff happen like this.
Yeah, the numbers that happen in crypto are mind blowing, mind bending.
Dude,
I know.
He just told you $150. 2016, you're a millionaire today.
Yeah.
Right? Who didn't, for most of us who didn't have $150 then. Most of us could have done that.
Yeah, the God Whale did. The God Whale got 400,000 Ethereum from the Genesis, and people basically, I learned that the Ethereum ICO had a time. What do you call it? Like it had like the price went up over time during the year sacrifice phase, and so so I can't tell you exactly what price the God Whale got in at, but if you divide 400K Ethereum by 30 cents, you're looking at 120K to basically when ETH was $4,500, you were sitting at over $500 million from 120K.
Didn't they say that the people traced the God Whale's Ethereum from the Genesis block?
Yeah,
Ethereum?
I've done that.
Yeah,
I've done that.
So
respect.
yeah. I guess you can't tell.
Hey, I'm gonna shift subjects real
Sure.
quick if you don't mind, because we were talking about it. I think I'm gonna wrap up. You mentioned mining and miners. We got a community of people out there fighting about our liquidity event that is scheduled to take place in 29 and 30. Meaning, hey, when Hex launched, a lot of people did 10-year stakes. And since Hex launched in December of 2019, got a huge glut of miners coming out with their yield in 29 and 30. And of course, if you cut that in half, it's 5 years. And that means potentially those people could emerge the end stake and go ahead and get out at the end of 24, towards the end of 24, into 25, and get their principal back. So there's a little bit of fun, a little bit of fear, and certainly a doubt going around about that. Coupled with, hey, all these people going to merge the end stake. They're all going to merge the end stake. But I got to say to the miners out there, the holders, man, they've done a bang up job. They haven't capitulated, right? We do see people capitulating, individuals, but as a class, we have not. And in fact, we've stayed in there. Now, I would like to see greater penalties, just like the next person, because I like more payout. But I don't want to see people wrecked for no reason, So of course, I'm streaming all the time, encouraging people to staying in the system, not financial advice, right? But that being the case, but here's the thing for you to kick around. why in the hell would somebody who's has earned a shat ton of rewards already, including big payday, give all of that away for their principal, while and truncate their future, like wipe out their future, because these particular miners, they're earning 65-70% APY. Why would they do that? You know, they would have so much hex in the game of hex at the end. Now, some think that a lot of people will do it. I don't think it's going to go that way. I think some people will do it. Maybe we'll see 10% or something like that of it. But it'll be interesting to watch, because there's going to be a lot there. And here's the thing: is let's say the fudders, it would actually do us a favor if a lot of those people did get out, if they wipe out those giant candles of supply that are going to come out in 2930, and just a little bit comes out now, and the rest of it gets deferred to us who are still mining, and half of that goes to the OA. Well, I guess we don't have to worry about those big candles in the future,
Boom.
right? Like 2930, right? Which has been a concern. But anyways, that was an observation from this week that
I
I've
dig
been
it.
playing with.
Yeah. It's important to understand how the system balances itself. Yeah. That's good game theory.
Just to maybe answer your question, Crispy, like why would anyone end their stake for just their principal? Is RG3 has like a staking strategy where he says he's putting out everything 15 years, and then once it hits halfway through, he'll be ready to start plucking those early. And the whole idea is that, hey, if you bought Hex right now at anywhere in the 1 to 2 cent range, and it may be in like 7 or 8 years, Hex is $1 to $10, you're not gonna feel bad giving up all of your yield and you just getting your principal, because you might be losing a whole bunch of yield, but you're also turning maybe a $100 bet into like a $5 million actualization. So
Yeah, I can see that from what you're saying there,
yeah.
Chris. My thinking on it is that yes, there will be some people, and there's probably is. You're probably right. There's a price that's high enough, but does that price live?
Like if
Does
Hex
it
was
live?
$10, would you start early in staking?
I'd consider it. Yeah, but okay. So I decide that I'm going to merge the end stake, and I'm going to pull my million that maybe I can get out. And then you do yours, and Matty does his, and next guy. How long does that $10 stay there? So I think it's less likely, because that won't just happen at some fictional number. That's going to happen every time we see a spike and somebody hits their threshold. So I think we'll eat that elephant, one bite at a time. And I think we'll continue to build the base, and perhaps there'll be times where there's severe volatility and people get out, like we had that episode during the fork, right? A bunch of people decided they're going to move in one direction, and they were chance sticked. But that didn't become a contagion, right? I mean, it was those people. They had a plan and they did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd
The
be
system
interesting. It's gonna
balanced
be fun.
itself.
It did.
The
It did. It'll
system
be fun to
balanced
watch this
itself.
thing play.
It will. Well, we have had a great show tonight. We've been blessed to have Brisology back and blessed to have ChrispyMan as always. And we have 280 people watching live here at the end of the show. We're wrapping it up. So thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscribe button. Check out the links to follow both of these guys in the description below. I've kind of changed the pinned message to make it easier for new people to get into Hex. So it just simply routes you to Hex Scout and says, go at it. And then there's more detailed descriptions
Hex
of
Scout.
how to get
Hex
in.
Scout. Yeah.
Besides that, yeah. People love Hex Scout for how it helps new people and people who have been in for a long time. It's got easy and hard mode built in, and yeah, so hopefully that'll be helpful to people as this bull market continues. If you were watching from the beginning, you know that we covered the breaking news with the SEC responding to Richard Hart's showing his legal cards, and personally, I'm still bullish on everything. So
we're going to war, boys.
It's more about getting long-term certainty in my mind than going to war. And certainly, I will reiterate the fact that I think our community has such a huge potential to be more inclusive and welcoming of other crypto folks, because in the end, we have the best crypto, we have the best community, and everybody deserves to have those things in their life. So with that being said, do you guys want to tell people where to find you?
Find me at Brisology on Twitter, and that's pretty much it. I got a YouTube channel, but whatever. I'm on Twitter.
Whatever. Whatever. All right, Xfire.io. You come to here on YouTube or the Twitter space @Hexfire.io. And of course, the website, hexfire.io.
Awesome. And you can find me MATI Matty ALLin on all platforms. And until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
Peace out.
Stay crispy.